Excited to start our hopefully first of many video series. Obviously, Andy, and this is Lindsey. How you doing today, Lindsey?
I'm doing good. It's a little rainy here, but I'm feeling pretty good, trying to keep the spirits up when it's cloudy and rainy, but it's always good to chat. How are you doing?
Good, good. It's rainy but warmer, so we're
Oh, yeah,
kind of
that's a
that's
nice.
the trade-off, right? Percy, the original PPC Pitbull, is at daycare today, so I have the house to myself for a little while here.
Oh, nice little reprieve. Does she love daycare?
She typically does. She's a little bit crazy when she gets to daycare, so I'm not so sure the people at daycare feel like they see her come and they're like, oh no, here comes Percy. But you
But
guys
the
ever
benefit
take
is when she gets home, I bet she's super tired, and that's nice.
Definitely. That's the whenever we have people coming over or whatever, those are the days we usually try to get 2 days in a week just to give her something to do while I'm working. But we'll make sure if we're hosting to bring people over. So my hope today was that we could talk a little bit about Performance Max, kind of some of the things we're seeing. Performance Max, just for a little bit of context, is a new tool that Google Ads has given us, a new campaign type. It's replacing or on the way to replacing Smart Shopping, but essentially it's working across a number of different channels. So shopping as well as display, video, discovery, even search ads as well. So what's nice about it, we basically provide a bunch of assets. We can provide them in what are called asset groups. So we're giving a bunch of images and headlines and videos and tying those to specific products in the product feed. Then Google will go ahead and create ads for those across all those different networks I just mentioned. So it's just one more step in the Google black box here, taking a little bit more control off the table, a little bit more automation coming in. But the promise is that hopefully they can kind of track the user experience across all those channels and get those multiple touch points that it takes to execute a purchase in the customer journey. So yeah, we've been rolling these out across a number of different clients so far. Lindsey, do you have anything on kind of what you've been seeing as we've been getting these started?
Yeah, I think for me, the really exciting piece of it is the dynamic creative side of it. It's a lot like responsive ads. So you give Google a list of descriptions and a list of headlines. You get them, like we were talking about in the asset groups, you get groups of images and videos. The nice thing too is if you don't have videos, Google will just generate some via the images and the descriptions for you. So I think they're definitely moving towards helping smaller entrepreneurs, smaller businesses who don't maybe have the huge budget for all of the creative to do video shoots and photo shoots all the time and have just like constant creativity coming through in their assets by offering some of these dynamic capabilities for these businesses. It's really exciting to see. So even if you don't have a whole agency to help you, you can still get started with something like Performance Max and still potentially have some really good benefit from it.
One of the things in the past, they used to have those old smart campaigns, which I don't believe we never got too involved with those, in the years that those were getting more popular, but I don't believe they ever included shopping. So you weren't able to upload your product feed anyway. Those never really kind of met the performance goals. We kind of moved away from those in favor of some of the, campaigns that had a little more control. That being said, with Performance Max, we are seeing some pretty good performance. And what's nice is it gives you that simplicity that if you can provide the assets, Google kind of handles most of the rest, honestly. So there's some different strategies that we've been trying out and playing with, right ways and wrong ways to do it, but definitely makes it pretty easy to start working from from one particular campaign and then just kind of doing different ad themes off of that, creative themes off of that.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that. I think kind of on the flip side, and I know we'll be touching this later, but it's sort of making marketers have a more difficult time communicating what's working and what's not. So that while they're going in a simplistic direction, maybe to help out the most people that they can, it's making those of us who, work on this every day and know what's going on behind the scenes. It makes it a little bit more difficult to communicate with clients what's working, what's not, and why it's working and why it's not. So as much as we love the simplicity, I know we'll touch a little bit more on that later, but I just like that you bring that up, that we have to keep in mind as they're moving towards, user friendliness and just making everything easier and simple for people. They're taking away some of that background peek behind the curtain stuff that we really rely on as marketers.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the rule of thumb is becoming more and more important, and being able to kind of, you know, figure it out on a little bit limited data, figure out, what we should be running at what times. Because yeah, we're not getting the down to the impression, how many impressions went to this asset group versus this asset group, much less individual assets inside of a asset group. So a lot of that data that we used to have isn't there, or is there, but only in aggregate form, as opposed to, at the individual asset level or at the individual audience targeting level. So yeah, that's definitely, so it's definitely one of the trade-offs. I think I'm seeing this as kind of a good solid starting place, and maybe even like the kind of core area for a lot of e-commerce brands, especially with smaller ad spends, to kind of, okay, let's see how far we can push this, how far we can scale it, and then once it tops out, okay, that's when we're going to start adding in some, layering on some other campaign types over the top, whether it be all your various search type campaigns across brand and non-brand, or if you want to have a very specific video sequence, and we can test, specific video sequencing across YouTube ads. I think that's kind of a good strategy there, is to get started with this. It's simple, it's upfront, especially with small ad spends. It's nice to aggregate all the data into one campaign to hopefully help the learning process go a little bit more quickly, as opposed to, if you're going to spend $25 a day, splitting that over 5 campaigns means you're really only spending $5 a day on each campaign. And then, if you're using automated bidding strategies, it's awfully tough for them to get started and to, get enough data back in to learn. So
yeah, I think you make a really good point too, that using it as sort of a supplement to your other strategies and your other campaigns that you're doing is a really great idea. And I think incorporating these new Google campaigns and products and thinking them as supplementary to what you're already doing is a really good way to just start to get, dip your feet in on these new things that we're not quite sure are going to work or not, or if Google will even keep them around for a while. Not, shifting your entire focus on it, but if you're nervous about, is this going to work or not, use it as a supplemental campaign to all the other stuff that you're doing and give it a shot and see if you're getting any benefit out of it. I really like that idea, because I know a lot of people have been nervous about trying out Performance Max. I've heard from other marketers that they're like, I don't know if it's going to work or not, and I want to see if it works for other people before I try it, which I always find, if you're not an early adopter to some of this stuff, you're going to find out they're getting so much more benefit and they've already taken and run with it, and you're so far behind by the time you decide to adopt it. So I think that's a great idea, just to fold it in as a supplement if you're kind of nervous about trying something new.
what about on the, can you speak to kind of the strategy around adding in different asset groups and themes? So that's something I know we've been playing with a little bit of, like, having some evergreen asset groups in there, but then also, either holiday focused or certain, item line promotion focused.
The Performance Max campaign makes it really simple to trade out assets around seasonal type of holidays or promotions that people might be doing. So let's say Christmas or New Year's, and that kind of cluster of holidays, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, you can really break down individual asset groups to target those different holidays with the creative that you have, without creating entire new campaigns and having to wait for it to accrue all of that data. It's working off of that data already, but just folding in that other asset that is now seasonal focused. So you can adjust the audience signal so that we can focus on people who are, for instance, buying Valentine's Day candy, as opposed to people who are just looking at, maybe if you're a chocolatier, just people who are looking for candy in general. So we can really kind of hyper focus and niche down on the people that are looking for the seasonal products that you might be selling. So I think it's kind of a really great way to branch out and try the seasonal stuff if you haven't really been able to do that, because maybe you're not running those campaigns as quickly as you want, or you're waiting for that data to accrue over the campaigns you're already running. Now you can kind of just pile in these asset groups as needed, pause them when it's no longer seasonally appropriate, and still get a lot of the benefit from the data that's still constantly accruing. And yet you can shift and be seasonal at the same time.
Definitely. I like that you brought up the audience signals too. I think that's one of the really cool things that in the past, it's been very audience targeting. So if you're going to put an audience on a campaign, it's, I want to send this only to, using some of the affinity audiences, like, oh, people who've started a new business, or, people who are in the market for, I don't know, Valentine's gifts, like you mentioned. the challenge there, though, is that like, well, is that going to be a large enough audience? Are there people who, maybe Google hasn't categorized as that, who still are a good audience, all those different types of things. So what's cool with Performance Max is it's not the exact targeting we're specifying. It's specifying kind of a signal. I think of it as like a way to kind of seed Google's model to get it started a little bit early, where we're saying, hey, these are the types of people we think would be good for this asset group. Now go ahead and run with it and, test different things out and see if you can expand beyond that. So it's kind of a really neat feature that I think maybe hasn't gotten as much talk about.
The truth is that Google has so much information that our brains cannot even comprehend that they're working on behind the scenes. So why not take advantage of that and try it out and see if Google can really shift your creative and shift your ads into a better position than you might be able to if you're, constantly controlling all of those aspects of it. I think giving it a shot is worth it.
Yeah. So all in all, I think been pretty happy with it. I think you brought up some of the downsides earlier with some of the control we have. I also want to bring up the reporting side of it is a little bit tough, where it's, we can't necessarily say exactly what percentage of the spend went to non-brand versus brand and all of that. I think some of that may be changing. They have this insights tab that gives some of the information, unfortunately, not exactly in the way that we're used to getting it. So hopefully over time, my guess would be that they're going to have to give us a little bit more information as the campaign type gets built out a little bit further. If you are the type of business that wants really, really tight control and wants to know exactly where did every dollar go to, this definitely is much more of like hey, let's step back and trust a little bit and see how it goes. So we've been seeing great performance. It's not to say that it's not performing well, but you definitely do have to throw a little extra trust into it, I think.
When you go into that insights tab, you might be used to seeing a breakdown of impressions and clicks and impression share. You're not getting any of that. They're just saying this is performing low, good, and best. And so you kind of have to trust, what does that mean? I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely keeping you guessing in some ways. So if you're used to getting that really granular reporting, this might be an adjustment for you for sure.
I'm glad we got a chance to discuss Performance Max a little bit. I want to make sure we have some time for these in these calls to, I think, kind of be a fun thing to bring 1 minute of good news. So, Lindsey, I don't know if you want to start.
So for my good thing, we are testing out these talking buttons with Bow. And I think a lot of people have seen them on TikTok and YouTube, but they are teaching them language and better communication. Our dog is so communicative, and oftentimes he just stares at us to try to convey a message, and we're like, what do you want? So we're starting with the outside button. Outside. So when he wants to go outside, we're teaching him to push this button. But the fun part about it that makes it so good is that he kind of plays it like a DJ. So he likes to push it a bunch in a row. So it makes it a lot of fun for us as well. Although I don't know if I really want my dog to become a DJ.
I know, really, DJ Bow in the house. It'll be all well and good until it's like at midnight or something.
Yes.
And he like sneaked his way down to start playing with the buttons.
Exactly. We'll see. Hopefully we'll be excited that it works, and then we'll be like, okay, chill out.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you? Any good news on your end?
Middle of a home search right now, so kind of crazy, of course. With the housing market is pretty insane, but it feels like maybe we're starting to get a few more houses on the market as the weather starts to warm up a little bit. So I would say tentative good news as we have a few more options to look at. So yeah, I'll put out a big plug. If anybody has a nice home to sell in the Central Maryland area, let me know. We'll figure out a deal here.
Yeah, send it Andy's way. It's tough out there right now.
It is. Yeah, definitely. Everything is like on the market and off again in 5 days. It's crazy.
Well, I'm wishing you luck. Crossing my fingers for you.
Definitely. Well, cool. This is it's a good first cut. Yeah, we'll continue doing this as we move forward.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's been fun.
Awesome. All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.